Welcome to The Daily Pause with your host, Ron Powers.
Welcome to another post, The Daily Pause. And I am taking a pause. I was anxiously waiting for a new movie to come out with Mike Smith. Mike Smith was the person who produced Out of Shadows about 3 years ago, and he has another movie coming out, and it's premiering today. It's called Into the Light. And so I've been waiting with a bunch of other people going online. And as I went to his Twitter page, Into the Light Productions, I noticed a lot of people are saying, where's the link? Where's the link? You know, everybody wants the link to see this movie. And then I started looking at some of these comments, and somebody made a comment that said, hey, you've got to see this interview. It's amazing bombshells, you know. And so it just caught my attention. I don't normally stop what I'm doing after seeing, a news clip and say, oh, everyone else has got to see this. But as soon as I saw this, I spread this out, and I wanted to do a daily pause. I paused on this one because it just blew my mind. And basically, it was an interview. It was an interview with a lady, and her name is, what is her name? Her name is, let me get it here. Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes, and she is a person that is a advisor. She's part of the Trump transition team, and she's one of the advisors. And so she's in with a lot of people. And so before I show this, I want to say I did some research on her just to make sure this lady was real, because some of her credentials and what she says in this short interview were so mind-blowing. And I have heard this from a lot of truth tellers, but to hear it from somebody that's from the inside, publicly known, really gave a lot of encouragement, to say the least. So anyway, Jan Halper-Hayes. So I just wanted to, no more further ado, I think we should probably just go right into this interview. This interview is about 9 minutes long, and it covers a lot of things. You know, a lot of people, including myself, have been like, oh man, when's the deep state just going to back off? They're just beating up Trump, and they're constantly indicting him, and Trump looks relaxed and stuff. But there's always that little bit like, I just don't like the tension. It's pulling me down. I just don't know what's what, and we have a hope. We hope that these things are playing out. I've been hearing more about continuity of government, with Derek Johnson, and then Patel Patriot was doing the devolution a while back, and he's on Badlands Media now periodically. And, there's some great things, but, in the back of your mind, you're like, I hope that's true. But after hearing this interview, it's like, wow, this is mind blowing. And so I just wanted to share it with you. I'm not really going to add a whole lot to it. I might make a couple comments at the end, but I think it speaks for itself. And I was just like, man, people have got to see this. So with no more further ado, let me just go with that. So here we go.
There's so many people putting this down as a political conspiracy theory, but actually there are real questions to be answered here.
There are?
Yeah, of course there are. Of course there are.
What he's being accused of, but what part do you think is to answer that the 2020 election is going to be litigated because of this? They've made a huge, huge mistake with this one, because even though we thought what was going to happen was they were going to go after him for treason or sedition, but they did criminally charge him, but they didn't go to that extreme. As a result, he has due process, so he can subpoena people and bring things in. Now, let me say something about this 2020 election, is that Biden is the legitimate president, but he's the legitimate president of what is now the bankrupt U.S. corporation. And that was a treaty in 1871. Well, on September 12th, 2018, Trump created an executive order. Within that, he outlined in future elections any kind of foreign or domestic interference, specifically for the 2020 election. So we say, How did he know some of these things were going to happen? Election integrity on both sides of the aisle is tough. It's really tough. But what this has done is it's opened the door for Trump to present his case.
Well, that's a good thing, isn't it? Because what we see on this side of the pond is a very difficult situation where the legal system is politicized in the United States, which is abhorrent to us over here. So the fact that Trump can subpoena, some people saying it's a mistake by Jack Smith, but actually he can subpoena. People can actually see evidence from both sides. That's a sensible move.
Exactly, and it's a great mistake by Jack Smith that he's done that. Absolutely great. See, the thing is, think about Edward Snowden and all the information he had. Think about the fact that our military, our Department of Defense Space Force, if you think that they don't have the actual real results from the election, then you're fooling yourself.
Yeah, but what we do know with this is we're told that there are plenty of notes from people, including Vice President Pence, that there are some recordings of Donald Trump acknowledging that actually what he said in public was nonsense. That some of these states, whether he claimed he was out saying look, Detroit, it's corrupt, it's all corrupt, the results are corrupt. And that when in reality, he knew it wasn't. That's illegal.
But you know what? That's what someone's claiming, but that's not the fact. And that's not what Donald Trump really has ever said. He's been very, very clear. I mean, the issues were, for example, in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court of the state of Pennsylvania stepped in and changed some of the election laws. Under our Constitution, it's only the state legislators that can do that. 2,000 Mules, the film that came out, what they did, they spent over $4 million tracking the phones. And the reason it's only 2,000 mules is that based on the visits to the drop boxes in Georgia, they had to have gone over 10 times. And they've got all the film for that. So the thing is that the election integrity is so different and so problematic in every single state. But that doesn't mean that the machines didn't do something, that there were some other kind of finagling, but the long and short, go ahead.
Well, it doesn't, but that's where conspiracy comes in, is it? To say, well, it doesn't mean that something didn't happen. Well, there's no evidence that it happened. I mean, there's how many court cases did the Trump campaign try to bring? Nothing's gone in his favor. Okay,
wait a minute. Everyone, the media goes, oh, there were 60 court cases that were rejected. No, there were 3. He won 2, he lost 1, 57 were never heard because they had no standing. And standing means that the person bringing the case has to claim some kind of impact or injury. So it's really, the media did that and they're great at doing that, but it was a fallacy in there. And the thing is that, I sit on a task force at the Department of Defense. And the thing is, they've got the goods. They've got the goods. And Trump knew that if he presented any of the goods early on, we'd have a civil war. That he really felt that the people needed to see how bad it could get.
And that's the sense that we're getting from Trump's lawyer about what his defense is going to be. So this is all going to be based on free speech, the First Amendment in the US Constitution, that he had a right to say what he believed. And he believed that the election results were not as was put out. But the point is, if you live in a democracy and you believe in a democracy, then that means that even if you don't like the outcome of an election, you respect that because it's a democratic vote.
Well, a democratic vote, and so therefore he should be silent about it.
He has a right to speak, but the issue, of course, is if he then acts to subvert that election result.
Oh, so that because you think he's being criticized because in Georgia he said, can you find me 12,000 votes? or, the thing is, he didn't try to subvert anything. What he's really done is he set up the deep state to come out, and that's why we're seeing all these things. I mean, it was revealed with whistleblowers and Hunter Biden's ex-best friend that in 2015, the head of Burisma gave Joe and Hunter Biden 10 million bribe. In 2018, Joe is on TV publicly saying that he threatened that unless they got the prosecutor fired, that he wasn't going to let them have their $1 billion in support. In 2019, Trump calls Zelensky to find out about what went on to get the prosecutor fired, and he gets impeached. I mean, we've lived with it for a long time.
We're almost out of time. I just want to pick you up on one thing. You said earlier on, Donald Trump has been very clear on this. Is he a man that you believe? I mean, look, he's about as believable as a chocolate teapot, isn't he?
Look, I know that, thank God you got the negativity in at the end and not the beginning. I can always count on you for that, always.
But it's a legitimate point to say that Donald Trump is a man who always speaks the truth. That can't be the case. I mean, it's hardly the case of any leader, to be fair, but I mean, definitely not Donald Trump. Well,
I don't know if I said everything or always, because I do call him the embellisher in chief, because he's a marketer. But in terms of telling us things, optics, you better believe that he's very much a straight shooter in terms of actions that he's going to take or what he thinks needs to be done. They made fun of him because they assumed he broke protocol and walked in front of the Queen. No, if you go back and look at it, you will see he looked at her. She gave a wave with her hand. He proceeded. She took a couple of steps, he stopped, and he waited for her to join. That was an optic to tell us that he then was going to bankrupt the U.S. corporation, because it was the Vatican, the Crown, and the U.S. that was part since 1871. And we were giving you our tax dollars. We were paying back. Forget this Tea Party and without taxation, without representation. We owed you a lot of money because you helped us in the Civil War. And so that is what Trump has now, he told the Queen, I'm ending this. We're dissolving this corporation. We're going to go back to being a republic and we'll all be separate. The Pope wasn't happy. You should find the picture of him visiting the Pope. It took 650 planes to remove our gold from the Vatican Bank.
I'm not very happy about it, Jan, to be perfectly honest. We could do with your money at the minute. Keep it flowing, I say. Jan Halper-Hayes, really good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
You too.
Good to see you, as always.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Wow. So there's a lot there. I mean, just a lot to take in there. So she talks about Joe Biden being a president of a bankrupt corporation, and that being bankrupt, they're pulling out of the deal where they're getting their gold back. 650 planes from the Vatican Bank pulling U.S. gold back. That was pretty amazing. Some of the things, the election, that you better believe that they have it all. And hasn't Trump said many times, I caught them all. And so he is just going down the list of things to do. This isn't like just by the seat of his pants. This has all been pre-planned. And it looks like she was confirmed a lot of things that I've been hearing. I've been hearing a lot of this stuff on X22, and we know some of the other chatter, Red Pill 78 and Badlands. And anyway, so I was really encouraged to hear somebody that would be in the know. If she's an advisor and she's works with the Department of Defense, I mean, she's definitely going to know things that the average person, from home, trying to make sense of things, she would know more. And so I was just really encouraged. I hope you got encouragement from that. If you want to hear that again, play this Daily Pause again and listen to that interview. It just came out today, or yesterday. Maybe the 3rd was the first earliest date I saw of this interview. But anyway, I saw it today. It was pretty mind blowing. And again, I did some background checks to make sure this lady was a real lady, and that she really is an advisor. And, I looked her up, and she's over in Britain and the Irish Times and in the UK area representing us. Anyway, that's what I have for the pause, and I hope you enjoyed it. And we will see you on the next pause. God bless and goodbye.